Part 108. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1074. Although Lu Feng had a lot of money, it didn't mean that he could give away food along the way. If he did, he might not have a penny when he arrived at the border city. The most important thing he should do now is to arrive at the border city as quickly as possible, and then completely change the military and political strategies here, so that the people in the entire border can have enough food and clothing. Warmth can solve all problems. Several days later, when he finally arrived at the border city, the Qin army, which had just completed a defense, was looking at him with a bitter look on their faces. They had no extra energy to welcome this official now. Most of the Qin soldiers guarding the border are those in their 30s and 40s, and there are also some Qin soldiers in their teens, accounting for about 40%. And these people managed to survive with great difficulty. After all, facing the alien race, their combat effectiveness was so poor that they were not worth watching at all. And because King Qin Yingzhen is now focusing all his energy on Costco and wants to unify the world from within, the border guards are also very average. It's just enough to barely maintain all this. When King Qin Yingzhen unifies the world in the future, he will have the energy to transfer Meng Tian to the border to guard. So when Lu Feng came here, no one actually welcomed him, because they had long been accustomed to fighting these alien races, and they did not have the energy to engage in officialdom. Who is your current guard here? Let him come to see me. I want to understand your affairs as soon as possible and then go into battle. If you are the only ones now, sooner or later you will not be able to hold on, and more people will die. Now in this border city, the only thing you don't need to worry about is food. King Qin Yingzhen has always delivered food here according to the rules to ensure that the soldiers on the border will not go hungry. But he doesn't have that thought now. To find out how much food is left in the granary, the first thing Lu Feng needs to do now is to report the situation to the guard here, and then adjust his strategy accordingly. I am Meng Che, the guard here, and Meng Tiana Euro trademark's cousin. Who are you? Not long after, a guard with no clean spot on his body came to Lu Feng, but he did not kneel down or bow. He just looked at Lu Feng indifferently, asking who he was. Why did he come? Go to the frontier, a place where birds don't a Euro trademark t-shirt. It turns out that he is the cousin of General Meng. No wonder he has such ability and can guard the border. I am, your young master Feng. I came here to guard the border with you. Lu Feng thought for a while and decided to introduce himself by the way they called him. In this way, he could use the identity of the Qin royal family to call these soldiers and make them obey him unconditionally. You must know that the loyalty of Qin soldiers to the royal family is very impressive. Young Master Feng turns out to be a member of the royal family. He looks so well dressed, so he shouldn't be lying. But why do people from the royal family come to the border? Does the king think of us? The soldiers on the border were very surprised. They never expected that the superior royal family would actually send people here to encourage them. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1075. Lu Feng knew their attitude because the people on the border had worked very hard over the years, and King Qin Yingzhen was unable to send them good things during the war. Their surprise now was inevitable. General Meng, I need you to tell me now, how many people do we have in the garrison? What kind of arms are they each in? Lu Feng asked Meng Che, hoping to get more detailed information from him. Our garrison here is less than 100,000, which is the largest number of troops that the king can give us, and most of them are infantry, and many of them are generals of defeated armies from other countries, and their cohesion is also very poor. Meng Che shook his head helplessly. He had actually known for a long time that the current border defenders simply did not have the ability to go out and fight. Being able to defend the city was the result of his best efforts. There are people from other 6 countries here, right? Lu Feng raised his eyebrows. It seems that the people who were defeated before were sent to the border by King Qin Yingzheng. Did he want to consume these soldiers through his clan? Thinking about it carefully, it is really possible. After all, these soldiers have to be eaten. If a lot of food is raised domestically, they can cause rebellion at any time, but if they are raised on the border, it is impossible for them not to fight in order to survive. If they fight, there will be a mortality rate, but they can a great help to King Yingzheng of Qin. Nowadays, no one wants to fight anymore, but if they leave the border, they will be hunted down. These people will be sentenced to death, and they will also be convicted and implicate their families. No one knows the law set by Shang Jun, so no one will foolish enough to run away. Lu Feng was thinking silently, which made General Meng mistakenly think that he was thinking about what should these people do if they escaped, so he quickly explained that according to the laws of Qin, no one dared to escape. But what he said, it is indeed true that according to the laws of the Qin state, deserters are not allowed. Once they appear, not only the family members will be punished, but even the soldiers who eat in the same pot with him will be beheaded. Qin state, 5 people, it is 1 and 5, so the team leader is called the core leader, and the subsequent teams are 10 people in a team, 50 people, 100 people, and more and more. Centurions, thousands of captains, that's how they come. According to the law, as long as you are in the same team, then everyone must apologize for the only deserter. There is no such heartless person in the world who would drag so many people to bury him with him, so there have never been deserters in the Qin state, and the others after the country is defeated. Those soldiers who surrendered can only accept the control of these laws, and they will not dare to escape. I know all these things, and you don't a Euro trademark T need to repeat them here. There is only one thing you have to do now, gather everyone and train them into another branch of the army as soon as possible. What Lu Feng said was to deal with those cavalry, so he had other arrangements. But Meng Che didn't understand. Is it too late to train troops at this time? Can you make it? Furthermore, what can they do? Those aliens are all cavalry, they are extremely fast and cannot be caught at all. Meng Che's words are also true. He has been guarding the city here for so long, and he knows very well what kind of losers those soldiers under him are. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1076. You must know that the soldiers who were sent here as defenders were all sent from various countries that had been destroyed. To put it bluntly, they were all defeated generals. The quality of these people is also quite uneven, and many of them were originally just deserters. They were caught halfway through their escape and had to be forced to be sent to the border as defenders. Their combat effectiveness is so bad that people can't bear to look at it. Meng Che can keep guarding this borderland by himself, which can be regarded as an extraordinary accomplishment. Although the people here are still very poor, as long as they undergo systematic training, they will become warriors who can go to the battlefield. You just need to give them a chance. You don't a Euro trademark T have to worry. For now, just follow the method I said to train the soldiers. With this it is not difficult for the city wall to block those people. Lu Feng patted Meng Che on the shoulder and told him to calm down. If all these soldiers are not trained, then the combat effectiveness of these defenders will always be only 5 scum. Relying on these 5 scum to defend the city, sooner or later one day they will be unable to defend, so it is better to give them a chance and let them take the initiative to attack. As long as they can frighten the enemy, or even destroy them, then there will be no need to worry about it from now on. Since you have the confidence to make them look brand new, please do as you please. The general will only be your subordinate, and of course everything will obey your orders. Meng Che obviously couldn't understand Lu Feng's decision, and he very doubted whether Lu Feng could do everything he said. With these crooked melons and dates behind him who were recruited from various places, how could he still do it? Can he really one day beat Rong Di, whom everyone has a headache for? He was very doubtful about this, and even couldn't believe it. If such a thing really happened one day, it might be a miracle. The terrain here is easy to defend but difficult to attack. It is not difficult to deal with the people over there. As long as we train them during the period of the defenders, we can find opportunities to counterattack. Lu Feng is very confident in training these people, and he knows that the terrain here is very good, and the high city walls can block these molten bottoms, making it impossible for them to cross easily. This is why Qin Shi Huang has always insisted on the reason for building the Great Wall. Of course, he also knew that it would waste people and money, but in order to stop these barbarians, he could only do this. It's just a pity that no one in the world can understand the reason why he did this. Even his own son Fusu also made suggestions about this matter, hoping that Qin Shi Huang could stop building the Great Wall. This was also the trigger that caused Fusu to be thrown to the border by Qin Shi Huang in anger, so that he could see with his own eyes why he wanted to build the Great Wall. "Sir, whatever you say is what you say." Meng Che looked like a dead pig who was not afraid of boiling water. It was obvious that he did not intend to have a good talk with Lu Feng. In this case, Lu Feng planned to prove it with facts and stop talking nonsense. In less than half an hour, all the defenders here were mobilized. After a final count, the total number of defenders was 190,000. This number was not a small number. Moreover, this number exceeded Lu Feng's initial expectations. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1077. Because it is very difficult to defend a city on the border, Lu Feng always thought that the number of defenders here would not exceed 100,000, but he did not expect that the total number of troops now would be close to 200,000. But this is also because Lu Feng's calculation method is different from Meng Che's. In Meng Che's eyes, those who do not have the ability to fight 1v1 with the enemy cannot be counted as combat effectiveness, so they cannot be counted as one of the soldiers in the army. His requirement for his subordinates is that they must be able to hit at least one person. Lu Feng's algorithm is that as long as the person is alive and has sound limbs, it counts as one person, so the number of people counted by two people will be different. Looking at the data in his hand, Meng Che felt unhappy, not because he was unhappy with Lu Feng, but because he simply believed that some people could not even kill people and could not be used as combatants. But Lu Feng was the only one who kept urging him not to look at others like this, but to give others a chance. Perhaps if others were encouraged, they would rise to the challenge. In the end, he didn't say anything and could only follow Lu Feng's arrangement. Lu Feng soon divided these people into several teams. Except for the patrol team, the other teams had to conduct regular training every day, and he did not give up on those who seemed to be weak. Since there was no shortage of food, let them eat as much as they could. After filling their bellies, they trained and ran every day. Not only did they run several kilometers, they even carried several times the weight of others. Although their training volume was very large at the beginning, because everyone is a farmer at heart, their physical fitness is not bad. It's just that they didn't eat enough and didn't exercise for a long time, so their bodies looked weak. In fact, they are people with good foundation. As long as they train, they can return to their previous strength. Therefore, Lu Feng had been very strict with their training from the beginning, which made many people dissatisfied because they felt that Lu Feng was torturing them to death. But as time goes by, many of them find that their bodies have become better and better, and they are no longer as thin and small as before. Even some people who could not lift 2 buckets of water have continued to exercise over time and their strength has increased, and their sufficient meals every day have made them in better health. Although the food consumption in the border areas suddenly increased several times, Because King Qin Yingzhen never lacked food for the army during this period, everyone was able to eat. And Lu Feng was not one to sit still and wait for death. After training for 2 full months, most of the people's physical fitness had improved, so he took this group of people and planned to rob Rongdi. The enemy army must have never thought that they had always been robbing the people from the central plains, but one day the two sides suddenly switched sides, and it was actually people from Daqin who came to rob them. This was simply unbelievable to them. Therefore, for the enemy, they did not set any traps or set up defenses for the location of their food and grass. Even where they graze their sheep every day, there are only ordinary herdsmen. Ordinary herdsmen go out to graze their sheep. How could they have imagined that one day they would be attacked by someone? Lu Feng took a fancy to this, so he planned to take these trained soldiers who had become physically better to go out for a robbery to check their current abilities. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1078. When the soldiers under his command heard Lu Feng say that they were going out and going in the direction of the wind of Rongdi, everyone was shocked, because in their hearts they couldn't defeat Rongdi, so they couldn't rush out now. Are you just asking for death? Does young master want us all to die? Even when General Meng made the decision for us, he never asked us to die. Now you want to let us all die as soon as you come up. How can we listen to you? Immediately some dissatisfied captains of thousands and 10,000 expressed their anger. They believed that even General Meng, when he was calling the shots here, did not let them go out of the city to fight the enemy. But now Lu Feng has just arrived here. You, although he trained them very well, but immediately asked them to leave the city, isn't this asking them to die? Many of them have not experienced the battlefield. The young master clearly wants us to die. We will never go out. If you want to punish us, just beat us with 20 army sticks. We want a Euro trademark to be able to distinguish between death and injury. Why doesn't General Meng speak for us now? Please General Meng continue to lead us to guard the border in the city. We are not willing to listen to the young master anymore. I also want to wait until I have the opportunity to go home in the future. I don't a Euro trademark T want to die here. A sad atmosphere suddenly arose in the military camp. I don't know who started it. Then many people started to cry. They all thought that they could not go home, so they all cried hard. Lu Feng helplessly held his forehead. These people are really terrible. As the saying goes, a man will not shed tears easily, but look at these people in front of him crying like this over such an unrealistic thing. It's so ridiculous. He just asked them to follow him to Rongdi to rob some food. The matter has not yet been decided, and they have not even left the city. They are actually crying like this for their future. So unrealistic, what a thought. How can you still cry like this? I have never seen such a ridiculous person. Do you think you can't defeat those people with your current strength? You have to think about your respective hometowns and let them see you becoming such a coward. Will they still have the nerve to live in their hometowns? Lu Feng shouted angrily, scolding them for their cowardice. They were scared out of their wits before the war started. No one will look down on such ridiculous people when they spread the news back to their hometown. Although these people are also very pitiful, because their country they have been destroyed by the Qin state, which has caused their entire character to change, but they cannot lose hope of living because of this. Only by getting through the sorrow of the country's demise can they move towards a better tomorrow. This, young master, you are going too far to say this. When we were in our hometown, we had wives and parents. It was only because King Qin Yingzheng arrested us that we came to this place where no one can shed. Why should we do it now? We go out and work hard. Immediately, someone stood up to refute Lu Feng and expressed their dissatisfaction with their anger. These people are not from Qin. Although they do not have strong cynical feelings like the nobles, they will also feel sad for the demise of their country. It is not that I am very willing to fight for Qin and want to break the unhappiness in their hearts. Lu Feng can't do it without using some means. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1079. Lu Feng could predict the attitude of these soldiers. After all, they were from other countries, but as long as they had enough to eat, they would not cause trouble. Just like now, although these people are very dissatisfied, they have never thought about falling out with Lu Feng. Because they knew very well that they could only eat if they followed Lu Feng and served as soldiers honestly. In such a time of war and chaos, who would come to work in the military camp if they couldn't even earn a bite of food to survive? Presumptuous. A group of ignorant people dare to talk to my father like this. I think you are itching. Lu Yu's eyes widened with anger. How could he allow someone to be so disrespectful to his father in front of him? In his eyes, Lu Feng was a god who unified the world and had a cloud of fierce generals around him. Such a great man, others are absolutely not allowed to refute even half a word. This is disrespectful. As he spoke, he rushed down, waved the whip in his hand, and whipped these untouchables to warn them that such an attitude was not allowed. Lu Feng did na Euro trademark T stop him. His son was establishing authority in front of everyone. As a father, he could na Euro trademark T slap him in the face. What he said about teaching his son behind his back made sense. In front of everyone, the dignity that should be given to the child should be given to him. Otherwise, the child's self-esteem will be hit. Zhao Yun, go down and watch him, don't let those people hurt him. Lu Feng ordered Zhao Yun to go down and follow Lu Yu's. If there are a few thorny heads who are not convinced by Lu Yu's and stand up and resist angrily, they will definitely lead others around them. When the atmosphere gets heated, it will be difficult to stop it. At that time, in Lu Yu's, who is whipped below, will become a vent for everyone. If Zhao Yun is not there to protect him, with his current strength, it is the time when two fists are difficult to defeat with four hands, and he may not be able to escape intact. Yes, don't a Euro trademark T worry, young master, the general will definitely keep the young master safe. Zhao Yun took the order and followed behind Lu Yu's. With his momentum, once he stood there, others were too frightened to come close, especially those eyes that had experienced countless battlefields. He was full of murderous aura, more than just walking on the battlefield. The garbage soldiers who were just passing the scene were much stronger. To them, Zhao Yun was a strong man and should never be offended. Therefore, those who originally wanted to resist Lu Yu's did not dare to rush forward at this time. They could only be whipped and, at worst, screamed a few times. I expressed my dissatisfaction loudly, but I no longer dared to commit suicide casually. You cowards, have you forgotten that those outside have also robbed your compatriots, and many of them have killed people? Did they only kill people from Qin? Haven't any of your relatives been killed? Lu Yu's angrily blamed them for their cowardice. Because for such a long time, not only the people of Qin were harmed, but also the people of other countries were harassed by wrongdoing. That group of people often crossed the border to rob other countries. For those people, there is no morality at all, only their own interests. The border areas without strict control between various countries are where they gallop. No one can compare their riding skills with them, so they are more unscrupulous. Just like nomads who have learned to rob, they will run away every time after robbing, unable to catch them at all, and have become the source of headaches for many countries, no matter who is exception. Three Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1080. From the very beginning, these Rongdi invaded not only Qin, but the entire Central Plains. If they could not be stopped at the borders of Qin, then no country in the Central Plains would be spared in the future. Lu Yuz, who understood the truth well, surprised Lu Feng. He originally thought his son was young. After all, he was only 14 years old, so he didn't understand many things. But now, what the child said after whipping those unsatisfactory soldiers, and the truth behind it, made Lu Feng suddenly feel that the child actually knew a lot, and that he had always treated him as a child and underestimated him. Think about it, if we really can't deal with the Rongdi, will our relatives far away be able to live in peace in the future? They will also be harassed. Rongdi will not let those women and children go. Lu Yuz's words touched the hearts of those people. They are not hard-hearted people, and of course they know the consequences of letting Rongdi invade the Central Plains. In particular, they have all seen Rongdi's cruelty, burning, killing, looting, and everything. They are all a little light. They are completely uncivilized barbarians. They treat other people very cruelly. Drinking Maori blood is simply a nightmare for all Central Plains people. What the young master said does make some sense, but aren't we going out now to die? Those Rongdi are really difficult to deal with. They can come and go freely on horseback. Even if we train for so many days, we may not be able to defeat them. These soldiers were dejected. Even if they were persuaded and were willing to go out to fight in the city, they still had no confidence in facing Rongdi. They had all seen with their own eyes on the border the way those Rongdi came and went on horseback, so fast, and they also have very strong fighting power on their war horses. They are no match at all. To deal with the cavalry, there is no need for you to rush forward and die. The purpose of training your physical abilities is to carry out surprise attacks at night. After your first victory, you will have confidence in yourself. Lu Feng asked Lu Yuz to calm down. He came forward and said a few words, which surprised the soldiers. This meant that they were allowed to fight at night, which was very rare. In this era, there were only 2 light sources at night. Maybe. The first kind of light source is when the weather is extremely good and the moon is sparse. You can barely see some blurry things by relying on the moonlight. The second kind of light source is the torch. The torch in everyone's hand is the only one in the dark. Being able to see spots of light does not necessarily mean that you can see people. It just means finding people based on the spots of light. Night attacks are an unformed fighting method in this era, and no one has been able to find the correct night attack method yet. Method. The only one that can be regarded as a model is Sun Tzu's Art of War. But in this era, only nobles have the ability to read, but most of the nobles do not think that they need to read Sun Tzu's Art of War. This book has really been taken seriously. Han Xian lived in the Han dynasty. Before Han Xian became famous, most people had not thoroughly read what Sun Tzu's Art of War was. Only Guiguzi's disciples could dominate in this warring states period. Others did not know how to use the art of war, even when fighting, and will also abide by the gentleman's code. For example, the enemy cannot attack until the enemy is well positioned, the enemy's prisoners must be treated with courtesy, the enemy's generals must be respected, and etiquette must not be lost, etc. All kinds of outrageous requirements make people speechless. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1081. Lu Feng knew this very well, but he was a person with 2 lifetimes of knowledge. For a small thing like a night attack, just because others couldn't do it didn't mean he couldn't do it. What's more, if he doesn't use his abilities reasonably, it will be a waste of what he has. How to carry out the night attack is my business. I am responsible for the command. You only need to obey my orders. I can make a promise to you now and promise you that this battle will be won. What Lu Feng said gave those soldiers great courage, because it was an absolute promise to them. In this world where promises are worth 1,000 gold, even the most illiterate beggars know very well that promises must not be made easily. If he can't do it, then this person will no longer have a foothold in this era. It is better to commit suicide so that he will not be isolated and painful by everyone. After receiving Lu Feng's promise, these people suddenly became high-spirited. They were finally willing to obey the order to fight. Night fell. The various people who had prepared early also obeyed Lu Feng's instructions and put on black clothes as night clothes. In the Warring States period, when there was no concept of night clothes, such outfits it also makes people feel strange. But they have long said that they will obey Lu Feng's orders, so no matter what Lu Feng asks them, they will not have any objections to it now. Late at night, even Rongdi is resting, and their cattle and sheep are just ordinary creatures. They are now in a leisurely dreamland, very peaceful and contented. The only ones that still have the ability to alert are the dogs raised by Rongdi. But Lu Feng had anticipated this, so he prepared herbs to repel dogs. Let the soldiers apply this herb, so that the dog with a sensitive nose will lose its effect. With this preparation, the soldiers entered the range of Rongdi, and the method of getting close was also very simple. Rongdi liked to hold banquets in the evening. The bonfire will never go out. Singing and dancing around the bonfire, people will naturally fall asleep as they drink more and more wine, but the bonfire will only let it go out naturally, so in the early morning, it is the most eye-catching guidance. The soldiers accepted Lu Feng's. They were given instructions, so they knew how to approach the camps where Rongdi was resting. They tiptoed close to the light source, using the reflective bronze mirrors in their hands as props to greet their own people. The light of the campfire was originally your favorite, Rongdi. The excitement has now become the most dangerous signal for Rongdi. The Rongdi people, lying on the ground and sleeping soundly, smelling of alcohol, did not notice anyone approaching their tent. They did not expect that the timid people in the city would be brave enough to go out and choose a night attack method. After approaching, the soldiers took out the sweat medicine that had been prepared long ago. All of it had been made into smoke, but it was not smoke in a bamboo tube. It is a simple version of the ancient smoke bomb, but it has a fuse. The soldier only needs to put the smoke bomb in the designated position and pull out the fuse. Just like detonating a bomb, pull the fuse to a safe position, but there is no need to ignite and detonate. You only need to gently pull the fuse out of the smoke bomb to pull out the sealed lid. After the lid is torn off, the smoke can be released unscrupulously, and it will be released by those Rongdi people. Inhaled into the body. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1082. These Rongdi were sleeping, and because they had fallen asleep after drinking, they were unsuspecting and would inhale all the smoke without any precautions. This smoke, which has the effect of a perspiration medicine, can make everyone here fall into a deep sleep, and it is a deep sleep that cannot be woken up no matter what. How these Rongdi will be treated at that time all depends on Lu Feng's wishes. However, these Rongdi were only part of the civilian population, and their combat units were not concentrated together. Usually when there is no time for herding sheep and cattle, Rongdi's combat units will gather together and rush to the central plains to burn, kill, and loot. But usually they are very leisurely, just herding sheep and cattle like civilians. Lu Feng took advantage of this moment to break into their ordinary range, conduct a beautiful night attack, and seize resources. The most important purpose is actually not for those resources, but for the soldiers under his command to find confidence. Let them understand that fighting is not difficult or scary. Although it is terrible to kill people, if they don't fight, the relatives they care about most will be killed by these Rongdi. Even for the sake of the loved ones who must be protected behind him, he cannot give in even a single step. Fortunately, the risk of this battle was very low, which was acceptable to most soldiers who had just experienced the destruction of their country. They did not face death directly with Rongdi, so they were able to complete the mission safely. Smoke rose everywhere, and soon it surrounded the entire tent where Rongdi was, but everyone in Rongdi fell into a sleep that was even more groggy than usual. Lu Feng also asked the soldiers to be calm. After a quarter of an hour, when the smoke blew away with the wind, he asked them to approach Rongdi with wet cloths as masks. Because the smoke has not dissipated, if it is inhaled into the body, oneself will faint. In order to avoid such a situation, Lu Feng ordered all soldiers to prepare masks, which are cloth soaked in water. This is the ancient version of the mask, which can effectively block smoke. In this way, the soldiers can safely enter the area and search Rongdi's tent. Gold, silver, and jewelry are not their main purpose here. The most important thing is to capture all these people alive and transport them back on carts. In addition, drive all the cattle and sheep into the city. Cows and sheep do not have high intelligence and will not recognize only one master like dogs. For these farmers-born soldiers, herding sheep and cattle was a return to their old profession, and there was no reason why they couldn't do it. So it was easy to take away all the cattle and sheep in the area where they were attacked at night. When the statistics were taken that night, 1,000 cattle and 1,000 sheep were taken away. As for the Rongdi people, there are more than 400 people. If it weren't for Lu Feng's strategy, it would be difficult to achieve such success. When it dawned the next day, those Rongdi looked at the dark dungeon and fell into a state of confusion. But soon, they exposed their savage nature. These Rongdi in prison screamed, and anything they could pick up became a prop for them to vent their emotions. Facing the soldiers responsible for guarding, they also desperately tried to catch those soldiers, swallowing saliva and swearing, as if these soldiers had dug up the graves of their ancestors. Fortunately, the soldiers are all veterans, so they can just treat themselves as deaf-mute. 3 Kingdoms, I Have a Job Transfer Palace. Author, Strong Wine Burns the Heart. Chapter 1083. The smart soldiers ignored Rongdi, and Lu Feng listened to his chief clerk in the hall reporting on the harvest. Most of the harvest has been sent to the warehouse, but there is still some that cannot be solved in a short time. For example, although those cattle and sheep are very good for storing meat, this is a borderland, and only when you leave the city can you have enough grassland to raise them. Moving internally, Lu Feng had to find a way to send people to move these cattle and sheep to the plains with a lot of green grass. The consumption along the way could only come from the warehouses of the border army. This calculation is a bit uneconomical. Send an order to kill the cattle and sheep, and slaughter all the living ones so that the people and soldiers can eat good meat, and the rest will be dried and preserved. Lu Feng thought of a way. While the cattle and sheep in his hands have not been dealt with in a better way, it is better to let the people under him eat and drink well. Especially the ordinary people, the soldiers still have military rations to eat, and if they can survive, ordinary people will be miserable. Whether they can eat or not depends entirely on whether God will reward them. Hunters can still go out to hunt, but others have never had enough to eat. Now Lu Feng might as well open granaries and let everyone eat. You can have a full meal. And then you have to worry about Rongdi's sneak attack. They are the fastest light cavalry unit. If you want to stop them, you must set up a large number of sharp objects or traps from the inside to prevent them. These cavalry rushed in. If you want to set up obstacles, you must cooperate with the people. However, these years of war have long made the people miserable. So it was Lu Feng's plan to distribute meat to the people and let them have enough to eat. This is an important link, so that they can increase their trust in themselves. In game terms, it should be reputation. By making people live a better life, you can have a very high reputation. You can mobilize those people to set up obstacles. Young master, the order has been issued. The people below expressed their gratitude to young master and sent a lot of prepared delicacies. Lu Bulletin and I have tasted them and they are all non-toxic. A few days later, Lu Feng was still planning what obstacles were needed. Zhao Yun came over with a bunch of delicacies, which were specially made by the people below to express their gratitude to Lu Feng. Barbecue meat, steamed meat, stir-fried meat, etc. However, because there were not a lot of spices in this era, we could only use certain plants and coarse salt for seasoning. Although the taste is much worse than modern times, it is very original and tastes good because the plant family is fat but not greasy, and very refreshing. The chefs here are pretty good at it. Recently, whether in military camps or other places, they are recruiting chefs. I hope more people can join the process of cooking beef and mutton. Including many families' housewives also had the opportunity to come out to help, and the number of butchers also increased sharply. Lu Feng simply ordered those soldiers to join the butcher team. Although the blood of lower animals is not comparable to the blood of humans, it can also help many soldiers get used to the red color of blood. No longer unable to think calmly due to blood stimulation. However, it will not take too long to kill 1,000 cattle and sheep. As the number of people increases, it only takes 7 days to complete. And in these 7 days in China, beef and mutton have also been in the process of being consumed in large quantities. After all, people like to eat meat.